Welcome back to our Super Hoops Walk. Quite easy topic of conversation. This week we're reviewing Sheffield Wednesday. And when Varane is not in that midfield, we know exactly what happens. We'll be discussing that result and the new contract for Chair. The transfer window closing this week. Just how busy do we expect things to be at Loftus Road? And we're choosing our worst ever QPR defenders to fit in with our rubbish team we've been making the last couple of months. Thank you very much for watching. If you're just coming across the channel, it's 20 minutes of QPR chat every single week with, of course, Michael, Jawad, and other guests. You're very welcome. Do drop us a subscribe before you do anything else. Right then, you two, we are reflecting on Sheffield Wednesday. It seems that Danny Röhl, Michael, has just got Marty's number in this battle of Wenger and Ferguson at the moment.
Yeah. Going into it, I wasn't confident. I know we've been on a good run of form lately, but they seem to be our bogey team as of late. Barry Bannon as well. Every time we seem to play him, he seems to score or assist. So it is what it is. I feel like we can. There's still 6 points of playoffs, so still a chance.
Yeah, there is that. Had you won, though, look where you would have been. Jawad, who impressed for you?
It was so similar to the match last season, I think. I think they've just got a way of playing against us that seems to work. They're quite old school in many ways. I think they're quite direct. They're very sensible about when to play out from the goalkeeper, when to go long. And yeah, tactically, it's 3 victories for him over Marty now. And we scraped a draw in the other one. So there's just something about the way that they play that he's not kind of adapted. And I think what I've seen from Danny Röhl was that in game he adapts really well. And obviously it's possibly the first team that have really set up to stop us playing as well. And I think teams have taken us lightly probably. So maybe we're going to see that a bit more now, that teams that the first thing is to try and stop us.
Yeah,
I think Millwall's going to be a big test. Yeah. In terms of who impressed, nobody was awful, but I think for me, Jonathan Varane was so quiet, and I genuinely don't think he touched the ball until about the 21st minute. I honestly can't remember him getting on the ball, and maybe it's the way that Sheffield Wednesday pressed him, but I think it shows the importance of him. I think he managed 25 touches in the game. I think he had 74 against Hull in the week. So it shows how well they stopped him playing.
Okay. Let's have a chat then about some tweets that came out of the game. Sav says it was pretty poor. We looked really tired. When you take Varane and Morgan out to the midfield, it really exposes how ineffective Field can be. Onto Millwall we go. Michael, do you agree with that?
I've seen a lot of hate about on Field lately, and I feel like he has been a passive in games. But there's a reason why he won our Player of the Year. I think it was last year. I think he installs confidence in the back line when he's on good form. I don't think it's particularly his fault. Sheffield Wednesday, like Jared was saying, they press in a way which I think we find it difficult to deal with. Every one of our players. I do think that Varane and Field are the best partnership in midfield for us, but it just seems to be Field being thrown under the bus a bit lately. He hasn't been great, but he's still one of our better midfielders, I think.
Okay. It was good to see. Actually, there wasn't too many reactionary bad tweets from this game. Usually, it's a bit of a reaction to a loss, but I think the run has certainly sorted that out. Even Rob says it's hard to moan after the recent form, but why do we persist on playing out from the back, even when facing a 6-man high press? No wonder Röhl has us in his pocket. And there are a few people questioning, Joe, and the tactics here. With you, why you could persisted with the playing out in the back when it was clear what Wednesday were doing.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the most clueless they've looked at doing it. I think the goalkeeper, second half especially, looked a little bit nervy on the ball as well. And there were times where you just think, go for Jimmy Dunn. He pushes that onto the halfway line sometimes. You think sometimes you've just got to do that. And Sheffield Wednesday at times when we had a goal kick, they pushed 4 men so high up the pitch that as soon as you give it to a Morgan Fox, he's not the most comfortable. It's not like you've got Jake Clark-Salter back there, and that's not a criticism of Fox because he's been outstanding recently. But in terms of the way that we play, I think there's just a couple of them that just take that second too long on the ball, and when you're up against a high press, that second makes such a difference. And I thought second half, especially possibly at 1-0 down, you think just go a little bit more direct and see what happens. If you're going to pick holes, then maybe that's one that you can kind of question.
Okay.
I do think as well. Sorry, with Nardi, it's probably one of the worst performances I've seen of him this season. He made some good saves in the first half, but I think for the first goal, he should have come off his line quicker, put more pressure on the striker. Because he was just all he needed was to flick it on and he scored, and that's what he did. So I think I've got a bit of criticism from him as well. I think he's good with his feet, but I think he needs to come off his line a bit more as well.
Okay. One more before we move on. It was always going to happen. Onto Millwall, and please, for the love of God, get Pal away from corners. You agree, Michael?
I do. They never seem to amount to anything. But I think who else are we going to have take our corners? I think we don't have many options about whipping it into the box. And I think he's got a good left peg on him, like the free kick that hit the post. So we know he can sort of get it roughly where he wants it to go, just not quite. But I wouldn't. Yeah, don't know who else would choose, to be honest.
All right, then we'll leave the Sheffield Wednesday game behind. Let us know what you think in the comments. I needed QPR to bring my accumulator up, which would have netted me a nice 4-figure sum. So I'm not particularly very happy with QPR this week. Never mind. Right, Ilias Chair. Should we talk about him, Jawad? I mean, crikey. I mean, you've been talking about him. It feels like forever. New contract signed. How pleasing, first of all, is that?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think a year ago maybe I would have been a bit more surprised, but I think the support the club's shown him over the last year, I think his form and the injuries have dipped a bit this season, and I think he's got to the point in his career where probably the ship has sailed now to get a decent move, and there definitely have been clubs interested in him. Leicester last summer was a possibility, and I think the loyalty that the club have shown him and the loyalty that he's shown to QPR, I think he's going to be one of those players that stays at one club, and I really hope for his sake that over the next year or two we can really build something to kind of give him a shot at taking us to the Premier League, because that would cement him as a QPR legend, in my opinion.
He's your own Barry Bannon, isn't he, Michael? Potentially.
Yeah. I still don't think he's fit this season. I think since he's come back, I think he's got the most assists. So I think that he is, on his day, our best player. So I'm happy about the news.
Dylan says staying for promotion. Dan says fantastic, but we have to get Jimmy Dunn as the next deal sorted out, and the Irish branch of QPR says with QPR. You can tell something big is happening, have a bright future, everyone involved in this great club, and it does seem to feel like that at the moment, Jawad. That we talked last week about the youngsters all signing the new contracts. Now you've got one of your star players coming good. Obviously, Marty there. Do you feel? Just have this sense of it's almost too good to be true. This. Usually QPR has some crisis about them, but this season, just everyone seems to be really happy.
Yeah. I think there has been talk of a playoff push, but you're relying on a lot of teams to slip up. I think if we finished 9th, 10th, I think that would reflect a really good season. I think the on-pitch situation, I think they are building really well. There's still a couple of positions that we're woefully short in, and that will be addressed, I'm sure. My biggest fear is the manager. Like, he's loyal to QPR. Obviously, the fans have given him so much support, but we all know in football that if a bigger club came in for him, they find it hard to turn it down.
Yeah.
And
Let's hope
I would have,
Daniel Levy doesn't have his phone number.
yeah, I would have thought him and Danny Röhl are going to be high up on a lot of clubs' sort of next target, if you like. If Leicester with Van Nistelrooy doesn't work out, or I don't know, McKenna at Ipswich gets a bigger job, they're two names that have proven themselves, and I'll be amazed if we're sitting here this time next year and when QPR play Sheffield Wednesday, that it's those two managers in charge. At least one of them is going to be gone. Hopefully, it's the other one, not Marty.
Yeah. Before we get into the next game, there's an issue of the transfer window to come, Michael. Now we know why you were at the bottom of the table earlier in the season. That's because you had so many injuries. So why is it then, when we have a look at your ins and outs, that there hasn't been too many ins?
I think it's the way we're operating under Christian Nori. I think we are only going to make the move if it's the right move financially for the club. I think we've got a lot of players to come back as well from injury. So Dembele to come back, Clark Salter to come back, and I think that's it now, actually. But I think we don't necessarily need as many signings as what we first thought at the start of the season, because the players that we've got, we brought in Kieran Morgan into the squad, Colley, and they've both shown their quality. So I don't think that Ronnie Edwards is necessarily just having one in is a bad thing. I think the team's gelled well, and I think we don't want anyone to come in and upset the dressing room, sort of thing.
Okay, interesting take, Jawad. View on it? Why haven't you splashed a bit more cash to? Should you, if you want to push on to the playoffs?
I think if you think this would have been planned out end of November, I think the situation looked so dire that there was no way that they would be signing players for a playoff push. I think if you bring in a striker on loan, you're going to stunt the growth of Alfie Lloyd, Ryan Colley by giving them minutes. So actually, the position that we're in now, we're better off giving Lloyd as many minutes as possible, Colley as many minutes as possible, Morgan as many minutes as possible. And yeah, I think a signing now would be a signing for signing's sake, and we've been down that path so many times before as a club. We used to be the sort of laughing stock of the football world with how we dealt with the transfer window. So I'm pretty happy. If I had one thing, it would be a left back, because I still think Powell's one-on-one defending is just not good enough. I thought the second goal yesterday, it was so easy for 75-year-old Callum Patterson to get past him. But yeah, I think on social media it's actually quite quiet with the demand. QPR fans on social media are usually the worst at demanding new signings. But actually, I think everyone's pretty content with where we are. We've got I doubt there'll be anybody in before next weekend, is it? I think.
Yeah,
Friday.
Okay. All right then. That makes that conversation very easy. Then let's talk about Millwall for a second. Then they've had a flip-flop season to you. They started well and were up where you were, and now they are in a relegation scrap. Well, they were until they won at Luton this weekend. Michael, is there hatred, dislike here? Is this your closest rivals in the Championship?
I wouldn't really say there's any hatred. I think it's just a London derby for us. And obviously Millwall was notorious for being a bit of a hairy away day. But there's no hatred. Obviously, I want to come back with all the 3 points, but sort of we've had no sort of trouble with Millwall in recent years anyway. Okay,
I'm trying to big this up bigger than it is. Thanks, Michael. But Michael for killing it. Jared?
I think the fixture last season was probably our worst performance under Marty, and after that game, there was 2 or 3 players that didn't really feature again. And my concern is that they'll see how Sheffield Wednesday played against us at the weekend and kind of try to replicate that physicality, that high press. So it'll be interesting to see how he adapts, because we were awful there last season, and obviously a lot has changed, but I think it's one that he would have had his eye on, actually, as kind of a bit of a point to prove. In terms of rivalry, I would say we're probably the London club that Millwall feel nothing about. You could probably look at, obviously, West Ham, but the rivalry Chelsea, Tottenham, probably a lot more hatred in those fixtures. I think we're just another team to them, really.
Okay. We'll certainly ask them about that. Thank you very much. It's a short trip for you anyway, regardless. Finally, then, we're talking about the worst ever QPR defenders as we finish off our trawl through the worst ever 11 that we've ever seen play for QPR. We've put Joe Lumley in goal so far. Last week, you put Will Keane and Tyler Roberts up front. So we're looking this week for the defence. Let us know in the comments below who you have seen that you would never want to see back in that back line again. Michael, do you want to kick this off for us? Have you got any left backs or right backs, first of all?
Yeah, so my left back for me is Bossingwa. He just won the Champions League with Chelsea, I think. We signed him, and you could tell he didn't want to be there. He was there. He was come to us for the wages, and he was just. I hate him. But yeah, he was crap as well. He was one of them that came for the big wages. It was like a retirement for him. And I think he was one of the worst players we've seen. And I think to how he was with the fans as well, one of the worst people we've had at the club as well. I think he should be our left back.
Okay, good shout. Jared, do you have any
Are you
ones
going to
or right? You can go right back if you want.
If we're going Championship, though, he played it in the Premier League for us, so
No,
are we allowing Michael with that one?
I think we'll allow him because of just how bad he was. Yeah,
I've gone for Todd Kane at right back.
that's true.
Someone who, if he performed as well as he thought he did in his head, he would be an amazing player. He spoke about Sheffield United bidding 13 million quid for him. I saw his play. Yeah, I saw that he was like playing one of those PFA trials in the summer because no club wanted him. Yeah, ego the size of, I don't know, London. And just never backed it up on the pitch. Scored a couple of goals, I think, but definitely one of the worst I've seen.
Brilliant. Centre halves.
So I've gone for Chris Samba purely on the fact of his price tag being 12 million quid, our record signing, and he didn't replicate what he could do at Blackburn. He was average, but he's not the worst centre back we've ever had. But for the price tag and the name that we thought we were getting, he was a shell of that on the pitch. And I think another one is Oguchi Onyewu, the American guy we signed. I think he played one game against Charlton away or something. He was crap, but that's all I can say on him, really.
Okay, we're very polite, Jared.
Yeah,
I've gone for the legend that is Joel Lynch now. Dreadful player, and the funny thing about him was he always seemed to manage to wangle Christmas off, so he would get suspended or there'd be a mystery injury before. And there's some amazing stat about, like, not just at QPR, at Sunderland as well, how many Christmases he had off over like a 10-year period. 100% planned it. Obviously loved eating a bit of turkey on Christmas Day. But yeah, he was one that always had a howler in him. So he has to go down, I think.
Did you have any more either be between you, or have you covered your lot?
I had Dion Sanderson, who we had on loan from Birmingham.
Okay. Yeah.
Got sent off for a headbutt in a nothing league game against Blackpool. And I had Nico Hammerleinen as a left back, who seemed to get a new contract every single year, and every time he played, he was the worst player on the pitch by an absolute country mile. And the next week, you'd see he signed a 2-year contract, and you'd be like, "What are the club doing?" And again, I think that's something that the club have learned from, not to give these youngsters contracts if they're not good.
What about Cole Kapawa?
Yeah.
Another one.
Centre back, yeah.
He was hyped up. I think we chose to give him a new contract instead of signing Ferland Mendy. So that turned out well, didn't it?
I thought I'd have a lot more choice, but having looked through the last 7 or 8 years, I was actually, they've all had faults, but no one that deserves a title like Joel Lynch does.
Brilliant. Great job, guys. Thank you so much. Next week, we're finishing off the team. We're putting the least dynamic midfielders in the middle of the park. So get thinking around 4 names for that. And
Joey Barton, captain. Yeah.
Joey Barton, yeah. Let us know that. And of course, we need a manager to manage this team as well. So get thinking on that as well. So, team, thank you very much. Enjoy the Millwall trip. Keep safe, and we'll see you in 7 days' time. Thank you very much for watching. Do drop us a subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, Michael.